Now, I want to read you a story that's known to most of us. In fact, probably all of us. It's a story that Jesus told. It's commonly called the story of the prodigal son. And I'm going to call it today and in coming weeks by a different title. I'm going to call it the parable of the lost sons. Because the fact is that there's more than one lost person in this story. I want to talk, and I want to read the story to you, and as I read it, I want you to see the desperation that exists in different ways and in different people at different times in each of the people in this story. The fact is, all three of these characters are desperate in their own way. So I'm going to take a couple of minutes, and it'll take a couple of minutes, to read through this story that Jesus told, and then I'm going to talk about it for a little bit this morning. Jesus said there was a man who had two sons. The younger one said to his father, "Father, give me my share of the estate." So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. Now, this especially rattled the cages of the Jewish audience to whom Jesus was telling this story. The story is actually being told to religious people who were upset at Jesus because he was welcoming sinners into his presence. And he now speaks in language that's as far from kosher as possible. He talks about presumably a Jewish young man who reaches the end of himself and is feeding the swine and eating their food. All right? But, thankfully, this young man came to his senses, and when he did, he said, "How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants.' So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. 'Your brother has come,' he replied, 'and your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound.' The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and have never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him.' 'My son,' the father said, 'you were always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.'" I'd like for you to see the desperation in each of these characters. The younger son is desperate at first to spend his life in the pursuit of what he perceives to be pleasure. Yet, when he's spent, he comes to his senses and he's desperate to return home to his father. The elder son is desperate to protect his place and his father's home from anybody like his younger brother. He's angry that his father would make his house and life or celebrate about anything other than him. The elder brother was desperate to make it about him. And the father is simply desperate to share himself and everything he has with his two sons, both of whom are lost in their own way.